start because we have a lot of items on the agenda, including some very interesting planning applications. So welcome everybody to this Planning Accommodation Committee meeting, and particularly welcome to our member of the public. Thank you for coming. Please go in here. Right, so because David Rees wishes to speak about planning application, I'll ask if it's okay with you. I'll suspend standing orders so that David can speak when we get to the new planning applications. So if you're happy with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, right. Item 66. The meeting is being recorded. Does anybody wish to make any further recording of the meeting? No? Right. Item 67. Apologies for absence. We've had reasons for absence submitted by Pat Collin. So be happy to accept those.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great. And item 68. To receive members and officers' personal and disclosable pecuniary interests in items on the agenda. Does anybody have anything to disclose?
I think there's one, I'm not sure. I'll tell you when I get to it.
Okay.
But other than that, your next meeting, I will be away from holiday.
Right, thanks.
So I send my apologies. I was going to give back my apologies for Wednesday night because we sail on Wednesday.
All right.
It's 19 days away.
I'll pass that on.
Yeah, excellent.
Right.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Right. Have been any new written requests for new dispensations? No. Should any items on the agenda be discussed in private? Request anybody? No. Thank you. So, moving on, item 71, to confirm the minutes of the previous meeting, which was a long time ago, 15th of August. Can we confirm the minutes? Thank you. Excellent, thank you. And then item 72, the list of Kirklees planning applications updated with the views of the committee. Can we note that? Yeah. Noted. Thank you. We've now reached the Kirklees Council new planning application, so you've got your 3 minutes. Just say that members of the committee should all have received all the documentation, the emails and so on that you've sent. They've all been circulated. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm sorry I sent that a little later this afternoon.
Thank you.
Right. I'm going to pull this down. Thank you very much, first of all, for letting me speak. I'm here. My name is David Rees. I'm a retired solicitor, Kirklees resident, although not Home Valley resident. I'm just outside it. And I'm here representing. I really want to boil this down to its most simple level. There is an application in front of you, which is a minor amendments application. This is to correct, I believe, things that are wrong with planning applications, but the one thing that it cannot do is cure time delay problems. So in other words, if a planning permission lapses, you can't use section 73 to unlapse it. So what has actually happened here is that we believe that the planning permission has lapsed. There's a condition in a planning decision from 2019 which says that the development has to be completed by the 10th of September 21. In this particular application you have in front of you, the developer said that they started work on the 4th of October 21, which means the planning permission has lapsed. It's as simple as that. What they can do is that they can apply under section 73A to cure that lapse. But when they apply under section 73A, it is in effect a new planning application, which means that they then come into your new neighbourhood development plan with all of its conditions, so they have to satisfy those. And those conditions are matters such as, for instance, character, local character, height, scale, mass, and appearance, sense of place, materials, and highway safety, which is actually a different document. So, that's the situation in a nutshell. That's the nub of what they're saying. There are peripheral matters. They have also breached, we believe, two other conditions. One is a road safety condition. They were supposed to have moved the entranceway to the site before they started building, and it still seems to be in the same place, which, I mean, I don't know what people, I've used that road a lot. It's very dangerous, particularly around, highly dangerous. So that is an issue, and I understand also that there is a retaining wall that should have been built as a planning condition, and it's not clear that that has happened, which would be quite fundamental. So,
Thank you. Would you perhaps just, you brought some photographs with you.
Yes, I
Would
can
you just
go.
like to just explain what they're...
yes,
That's not each individual one, but...
well, essentially the development, you've got Greenfield Road running along the bottom, and then the second set of photographs are looking at the road below Greenfield Road, which is actually the address. So this is a different view. Yes, it is. Yes, exactly. Just off the left.
It's showing what is the first application on our side.
Yeah. It's about, I think it's about 50 metres up the road, isn't it, on the right, on the other side. It's a very dangerous traffic point. Apparently 10 injury accidents in recent years. And in fact, if you look at that clip that I sent, the video clip, you'll see a car pretty well crashing into another. It didn't crash, but it very nearly did. I'm just trying to think what else is in those photos. It's really showing the mass of the building. And I must admit, the first time I drove past it, I thought, what on earth is that? It's extraordinary, because it's so high and so next to the road. Does that deal with that?
That's fine. That's fine. Right. We may ask you questions. We may.
Yeah. I mean, what we would urge is you reject the application, and that in fact you make overtures to Kirklees Council to initiate action against council, firstly for lapse permission, and then for the other breaches.
Thank you. Thanks, David. So we'll discuss the application. Do you want to kick off on it? Because it's your patch, yeah.
Do you wish me to leave, or?
No, our discussions are open to the public,
Okay,
so you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to stay for all the rest of the meeting if you wish, but...
It's really interesting.
Well,
Of course it is.
I think just looking at a broader picture, my understanding is that we can only consider what's in front of us, i.e. the planning application for this minor change, which in itself seems fairly minor. I understand the position about is it actually, should it have even started as a planning permission lapse? I think that would have to be taken on, perhaps somebody can correct me, with the planning enforcement. Has anyone made any move towards doing that?
not yet, but that's, you know, we would urge you to.
I mean, we can add a
Yeah,
comment
yes.
to that effect, but I wondered if anyone had actually done that.
I mean, you summed the point up precisely. If there's no planning permission, then the application you have in front of you is null and void, I presume. Just sits there. It's not acting on it.
I mean, at this point, we don't know, do we?
No,
That would be for Kirklees, I guess,
Yes.
to make that decision, whether it's valid or not.
Can I just give you the details of the condition? I mean, it might be, if I can just read this out now. Well, this is condition 1 in a planning permission 93548 of 2019, and it says the development hereby permitted shall be begun before the expiration of 2 years from the date of the approval of the reserve matters application reference number 90727, and then it gives a date in brackets, this being 10th September 2021. So that's what it actually says, and that is it. That quote is in some of the other materials that has been sent to you. And then the application that's been made for this, there's a question box saying when did the development start, and I think it's they state the 4th of October 2021. That is potentially in doubt too, because apparently there's no record of any work starting.
Does anybody else wish to comment?
Madam Chair, I'm just
Sure.
slightly confused with this one, in the sense that they're saying it should be started by a certain amount of time. I wonder if the time lapse between the planning permission and this land being sold to these developers was possibly the reason for that. I look at the front page and it looks like it's taking a picture from somebody's garden.
Yes.
That's obvious that they're concerned that when this bit of rough land, which to me, I have no problem in giving planning permission for, because it was better than giving it to some nice green fields that could produce something for the countryside. This is just a bit in between developments that have been done in the past and developments that well, it was left in the middle. I know the previous owner's father kept a few sheep on there, and he had his bit of a playground. But I look at this and I see a large building. If Kirklees had given permission for a large building like that, why wasn't it owned at that time? If people are not happy with the type of development that's going on. What I'm used to seeing is that once a material started being made, that gives you permission to do work as long as you want to do it. In this case, I think Mr. Rees has said that it to be completed within 3 years. Well, I've never known that, only on single dwellings.
Sorry, Rachel.
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, it is a tricky one, because I quite agree, it's a very imposing structure as it currently stands. And I think the issue is they're trying to raise it even higher. That's my understanding from the application that's in front of us. Obviously we're not really going back on the one that was originally granted permission, so the whole, the principle of development of the site was already established. I think, to be honest, with permission things, I in my head I always thought you had 3 years from when applying started, but I just that feels like, I'm not questioning what the gentleman says, but I think we just have to raise concerns about whether certainly the highways element should have been done before the development started, and I think that is a really strong point that we should highlight, because of concern about the safety of pulling out in that area. And I think I'm quite happy for us to object to the variation on the basis that we're not happy that the highways was sufficiently addressed, and also express concern that residents have advised us that it may not have been completed within the time frame that was anticipated. I think we should reflect that. But I don't think we should definitively say it, because we don't have, we're not cited on all those dates necessarily.
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, I was going to say, I actually would be a little bit sympathetic about the dates in this instance. We've had the pandemic, there's been material shortages for building materials and things like that. So normally, I'd be totally all over it, and it's in there. It's in the plans. Like you said, it's normally 3 years at the start. So and this guy was given 2 years to do it. 2 years. 2 years to start, 3 to finish. 2 years. So normally, like my dad said, that would be, you might start within 3 years. But with this, and with the circumstances, I would be a bit sympathetic towards that, and Kirklees maybe as well. But that's up to them to decide, and we should raise that issue with them. But personally, I'd be a bit sympathetic about it.
On the timescale factor, I know quite a lot of sites that were started, and just the wall was taken down and the dug out put drainage in, and it's been left and held over. And I remember a case some years ago about a piece of land, and there was a dispute, and a planning application granted went back to 1950 something, and it was deemed valid because it had been approved, and that certain works had started on the site at that time. So it's new to me, this 3-year situation. I know it did occur on a barn we got permission for, and the owner thought he got to, as long as he wanted, sympathy for the people that live above, but the only thing I can say is that we've got to work the timescales. We've got to work, and I think our comments that we can pass to Kirklees is that there is concern over the dates that have been put forward, and if this is so, we do not want to, we want to oppose the applications here tonight. In that the timescale is not in order.
I mean, it isn't. I tried looking back at the various planning applications. There've been a whole series, and it did appear to me.
Oh, there's a lot, yeah.
There's some conditions have only been partially been accepted, been approved.
Yeah.
So my feeling was either to defer or to defer to, and because the issue is so incredibly complex, or to object. So I'm beginning to feel perhaps we're moving towards objecting to it. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, go on. Yeah.
I'm not for if I can speak, not too often for myself. I just think we should treat the application we're looking at on its own merits. We've been asked to look at a change in roof line.
Yeah.
Now, all the other things, and there's some very valid points, and I would have every sympathy about the scale of the place, but that's not what we've been asked to consider. We can make comments on it, but I think we should look at the actual application and say, do we approve this change in the roof line, yes or no? And by the way, do you realise that it should have been started earlier, etc., etc.? I feel happier doing that myself.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That is basically what I was thinking, but whether it came out differently, I'm sorry.
I don't think we can oppose what's in front of us on the basis that it may or may not have been started on time. We don't know that, and with all due respect to Mr. Rees, they may say something entirely different.
And there are other conditions that don't appear to have been met. But I think what we could do is object on the basis of the raising of what's in front of us, on the basis of raising the roof of what was already quite high and altering the pitch and so on. But also drawing attention to the fact that our attention has been brought to the fact that previous conditions have not been met, and it may not be within the time scale. Is that?
Yeah.
Are people happy?
Would that be of intensification with the size of the roof? Too much?
I don't think so, because I think that's
No.
fair coverage.
It's already a very imposing
Yes.
set of buildings, isn't it? It's set to be made worse.
Not in keeping, maybe a loss of light.
It must have been approved by Kirklees before, although he wouldn't build it for that.
If we object, we can only object, as Andy says, on the basis of the raising of the roof, which I guess is that's what we're doing. We're objecting on the basis that we're not happy with raising the height of the roof of what was already a very tall building for the site.
Yes.
But is that okay? And then drawing his attention to the fact that
Start date,
the
access
start
road.
date, the access road, the
Retaining wall.
retaining wall, the roads within the road within the sight lines and so on, that has been drawn to our attention, and we would like to draw that to the attention of Kirklees officers. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay.
Do we need to vote?
Yes, let's vote. Let's vote. Unanimous. Thank you. Right. The next one is a holy one. We are in a bit difficult here because our holy representative, which I hope we can do something to change that. Right. We now had a look at it. Did anybody else? Okay, right. Rachel, you want to go first?
Yeah, extension of other garage from Oldfield Road, 29 Oldfield Road. I thought it looked fine. It's sort of opposite the end of Long Lane as it comes out on the sort of that slightly haphazard setting.
See ya.
Thank
you.
Right.
All the houses
Thank
are
you.
on,
Bye.
so all the houses are on there, all very different sort of styles.
Yeah.
So I thought it was fun. Maybe you have other views?
I've got another view.
I have another view as well.
Well, there is one objection from a neighbour
Yeah.
about the comment was an awful lot of brickwork. And I think, I'd have something sympathy with that. It's quite tall, isn't it? It's quite imposing. I'm not,
I was suffering a bit with an NIMBYism.
I don't know.
I seem to feel that with the last one.
I was saying towards no comment because I thought that there wasn't much detail on the drawings. I thought it was a
Yeah, they're
shoddy.
broad
I
drawings.
thought it was a really shoddy application.
I've made a note of that actually. Drawings are cool, there's nothing wrong with sketches, are there?
And when I, having looked at the validation requirements document as I did, I mean this falls so far short of that. So my view is to say that we wouldn't comment because we feel insufficient detail in the drawings. Are we okay with that? Do we need to vote each one individually?
That's fine.
I think you may be wrong. If we're going to say that, we might as well say refuse as inadequate.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
And if it's inadequate, it's a refusal, not leave it to get a lease sort of situation. I think we've got to refuse it on the grounds that they haven't produced enough. The drawings aren't good enough.
I'm happy to go with
Yeah.
if people want to refuse.
Yeah.
I think they've got to divide the bullet and come back again with a second
Yeah.
application.
Yeah, fine. Confused, yeah. Okay, okay. Right. Next one is another phone.
Shall I kick off?
Yes.
If I look at it?
Yes.
We're all going to disagree on this one. There's obviously there were concerns from neighbours about overlooking it, in fact. I thought we should commend the fact they're putting solar panels on, to be honest. And my inclination is to support the conservation officer in their view of it, because I thought it would, because it's within the conservation area, I felt that their views would be more knowledgeable than ours on what's appropriate. I didn't disagree with what was being done particularly.
I mean, just made a few notes, the materials all match the existing, so from that point of view, it seemed that. All the objections all seem to be the same, actually. It
I
was,
think the one
there were
for
four,
first.
but there were- I couldn't make out on the drawings, I didn't know whether if they were roof lights or were they solar panels there. Because
Well,
I just thought if they're roof lights.
It says roof lights
too
and
many
all
of
the
them.
plans, so it says roof lights and solar panels on the plans.
I mean, I'd summed it up and said.
In fact, it doesn't even mention solar panels on the description here.
It does, but it does on the main planning website.
Okay. I'm surprised it doesn't do on.
Yeah, no, it's good.
The drawing, I don't think it labelled them as such, I
No.
don't think they make out of the.
No, I don't know.
And I just thought if there was a roof lights, it's a bit too many.
Well, you might want the conservation officer to make it.
Yeah,
Shall we say,
I think those were the
Yeah.
solar panels.
I think looking at it now, I think you're right, yes.
Otherwise, that's not really roof lights, that's not whole glass roof, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
so we decided to Kirklees Conservation Officer, yes, people
I'm happy with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, you've got a lot to do, Andy. The bio-waste tax system.
Yeah, straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Support,
Yeah.
straightforward,
Yeah.
support that one.
Yeah.
Right. All right.
Very interesting.
The next one is the Glamping Cross, which is becoming incredibly fashionable. Just before we start discussing it, just to say that Judith Roberts sent a comment. So she would wish to object to it because of the access, because it's on a bend and it's that house that sticks out into the road,
Yeah.
and cause a major problem. The sidelines just non-existent. No plans for toilet, showers and water, though actually I think those are actually inside the pods. If you yeah. So that's not real. But so her comments are mostly about access, sidelines. Yeah. Okay.
It's not the right place for it. It's totally the wrong place for it. And as regards what Julie said about vehicles, coming down that road, they come down there at some place, down under that junction.
I mean, it is afforded, but people drive faster than that road down there.
They get out of Honley, and it's a straight good road up, and they go over the top.
Anybody object?
I'll be against it.
Yeah, I mean, it's green belt as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so inappropriate development.
I wouldn't say that putting glamping pods in the greenbelt was a problem, because I think greenbelt is the area where people like to go to do operations like this as holidays and one thing and another. And I think it's something that's to be encouraged, and especially if it's diversification of a bigger unit, but this is only a little place. And they're wanting to obviously make a business out of something that isn't a business.
So I just used about the sorry, Rachel.
Sorry, can I just speak in favour of this suggestion?
Oh,
Because I originally looked at it and I looked at those objections and I thought, oh, everyone's banging on about hot tubs and there's no evidence of any hot tubs. So that's just a bit of kind of people all jumping on the bandwagon and assuming it's going to be big hen parties and stag parties and oh my goodness, there's going to be light pollution and no, it's a glamping pods. They're just little wooden pods that people stay in. And actually, I think there is the issue I have is over the highways access, and I think they propose moving the access because it is dangerous. Undoubtedly, it is a dangerous corner. It's very narrow into a pinch point. So that would be my concern. But I thought it was interesting as well that some of the criticism of it was about there'll be lots of people coming from the cafe, but actually, if you look, it's not really a cafe. It is somewhere for the people who are staying to sit, and the shop isn't really a shop, it's a shop for the people who are staying. It's not something because, and I thought they didn't, if you sort of had to look at the various papers to make it all pull together, but I think some people interpreted it as it would be somewhere a bit like cider press, where people would intentionally go there, and therefore you'd have this flow of traffic of day visitors and people coming to use the gym as well. Whereas actually, again, with the full report, that was clearly just one of the things that people who stay in the glamping pods can enjoy. And personally, I don't see it as incompatible with the green belt, particularly in that location, because it is it's tourism, it's employment in the area, and I think there is an appetite for accommodation of that type, which helps the local economy. So I'm not against it, but I do appreciate the concerns about highways. That would be my reason to object to it rather than the wider principle.
You just spoke, Rachel, and you mentioned the shop and the cafe.
Yeah.
That to me is a Class E shop, so whether that is Class E means that they do. But what is this installation of package treatment system?
It's sewage, the sewage system.
Package treatment?
Yes, back in the sewage.
It made me think that there might be something else other than that. I
describing it.
read that as what I think it is, but somebody could possibly be doing a scheme, and they're going to have a recycling centre there for possibly green fertiliser.
I was for traffic, but also I thought it was a little short on detail for quite a large, for quite a large development.
I think
Maybe supporting principle, but I didn't think there was the barn. I couldn't find much about it.
if you research about these glamping sites in Greenbelt, there have been one or two approved around the country. The vast majority haven't been. They're seen as inappropriate. And I think when you couple that with what we see in here, I mean, the public right of way running through it as well. It's bad access,
It's not
not
good.
very much detail.
It's not,
I think there are better places.
the principle is perfect,
Yeah,
but the site is wrong.
yes. I mean, I go along with the supporting tourism.
I'm not against.
I just don't
putting
think that's the
up-
right place for it.
I know a friend of mine, they have two women, and they've had them for a long time, and they're just in a little wood, with a quiet little road that goes to it.
Do you have a view? Thank you.
No, I've been quiet. There won't cause that many extra journeys. There's 6 pods, so you imagine there's 6 cars. Maybe some people might take 2 cars if they're going in different areas of the country, so you might get about 8 extra cars at most there.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be many extra journeys. I haven't looked at the plans and I don't know the location, but I've got an idea where it is. But from what's been said, but if people are careful pulling out these junctions, and if Rachel said they're making a new one, and I'd fully support tourism in the area because these people bring extra money in to the area. So
I don't.
I suppose we agree that we're not against the principle of this, but we do have some issues maybe with the location of it not being ideal. But quite often you're not going to find ideal locations for something like this. There's always going to be something that's not quite right. So it doesn't sound horrendous, but like I said, I'm quite in favour of like tourism and things, business for the area. Like when it's a cafe and shop, I thought this might be like a farm shop, but the way Rachel's described it as well, it doesn't sound as bad.
I don't think one.
But it might do, but it's not at the moment.
I think your only problem, and Andy's put his finger on it, it's that I don't see how at that junction there they can get a decent sight line with the van sticking out into the road. I don't think there's an adequate access point. We've been talking earlier about the one at Parkhead being bad, but I think this is worse.
I think it is, because it's further along from the pinch point, it's not quite a pinch point.
It's further along.
But I do think the other thing that's worth bearing in mind is they say something about people then being able to walk to all their amenities. And I'm conscious there is no pavement or lane horribly close to walk.
Oh, it's not
But there are, I mean, to be fair, there are footpaths that could be connected in, with some sort of missing path from that. So I think they would need to provide some means of people then being able to walk into Netherthorpe, which is where there isn't, there's already an existing shop there. So I think it's really about, for me, it's about highways and access, but I like the idea of it.
So I think we've got a divided committee here, haven't we, really? So shall we,
Well, for me, it's about green belt and the principle.
I'm not against it, but it's the access.
It's not new build on the green belt. Is anything new being built? Because pods aren't buildings, are they? They're temporary structures. I mean, I suppose.
They are seen as permanent.
Are they?
right, we've got a lot to get through, we need to move on. So shall we defer to the decision of Kirklees officers in this case as well? Or seems a bit of
the majority.
it seems a cop out.
If Andy, he's the person who does the War Council for these decisions, and he wants to refuse it, I'm happy to go with that. Based on the issues of highways.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not trying to impose my view on.
No, I
I'm quite happy to take a committee decision.
Could we say subject to it on the basis of concern about the highways access and the principle of development of green belt?
We're not against,
But not
against
but not against the principle of tourism
rules.
opportunities in the valley.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where if it
That'd be
goes,
fun.
it's one of those ones where if it does go through, we're not going to be like
Yeah.
too upset about it, but if it does go through, we're not, either way.
I mean,
That was quite
the highways people said there wasn't enough information, so, yeah.
Well, there's always been lack of information around that site, where there's been a lot of work done on
There's
that.
been loads of work, hasn't there? I've watched it change. Okay. All right, Rich.
I mean, all of them have been troubling so far.
Well, exactly. I knew it was going this.
I want to get to the difficult ones.
I guess we get easier soon.
Let's motor on.
Let's move on. So number 6 is top is
Could I declare an interest in another young man that goes
are you going to declare an interest?
I will do.
Right.
He's somebody that I've known a long time.
I don't know what time as well at school, but there doesn't mean I'm going to refuse it.
You went to school with him?
Yeah, it was all great, didn't it? I went to school with me.
Oh, really? I had a look at this, and it's a strange one. It's about the use of the land outside the back, and it seems to me that they put forward a good case, and it's sensible. So I would just say support.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
people happy with that
Yeah.
support?
It's one of those ones where I actually thought it was a skull as well, but it's just a bit of mine, I think. It's more skulls hidden into it, it's Equif, I think. But
No, it's just there's a kind of bulge, and it's skulls. It's skulls. I've spent a long time with a mag. Looking at the thing with a magnifying glass. Right. Here we are, Norwich. Oh, lovely.
Another conservatory that's 20 years to run.
I've had a look at this one as well, and it just looks to me, the orange is slightly bigger than the conservatory, but it's not the problem, is it? It's fine.
Yeah. Okay,
support.
support.
Yeah.
That's number 7, support. Gosh. Easy. Garage with storing gym.
Okay.
This is quite interesting
This is a
where it
story
is, isn't
small.
it? Because the road is Barnsley.
Yes, really, it's right up.
It must be right on the border, because I think the house at the
It's
other side is in
like
Barnsley.
your road, Barnsley.
Yeah.
No, it's still.
Well, just as it's
it's
no,
just-
as you go towards Winscott.
Barnsley maintain the road, is
And
what I'm saying.
it's a long way from anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's his home first store here.
I know what it
It
is.
is. I couldn't. I was. But did you have any thoughts, Paul?
I had a bad experience with this gentleman.
Alright.
When this property was originally sold to him,
You probably shouldn't comment then.
so I'm not making any comments.
Well, I've just thought support. It's
Yeah,
not
not
it's
supported by one of the neighbours.
It sounds like it's in the middle of nowhere,
It
is
is
it?
in the middle. Yeah.
And it gets rid of that
Support.
horrible shed that's there.
Well, some rough old cow sheds up there that they wanted flat.
Right. Number 9 is a discharging condition. So.
Yeah,
We'll
prefer
go
that.
down standard reply,
Yeah.
refer to care, please. Number 10, Annex Accommodation. Right, this is a reapplication, previously turned down, overdeveloped in the site and so on. And it's...
Yes. I mean, last time this came up, we opposed it on the grounds that it was over-intensification, I think.
Yeah.
And although they've reduced it a little bit, I don't really think they've done enough for me. They say they've moved it, instead of a gap of a metre from the boundary, it's now 1,200 to 1,500 now. It's
Can we have it in English?
well, instead of a metre gap,
Aye.
which was we thought was pretty
Yeah.
close, it's
Yard.
yard or
Yeah.
1,200 to 1,500 millimetres.
I don't know millimetres. Sorry, it's all right.
Your job.
About 3 foot.
I'm still thinking inches, mate.
Okay. Anybody else, any view? I thought perhaps they haven't really done enough to
No.
you know.
I thought it was a minor improvement.
It was a
I'm happy to go with-
minor improvement.
Minor improvement, but not good enough to get support, I don't think.
That's
See,
fine.
there's an interesting thing in the way they
So
describe
yeah.
it, isn't it? They
Yeah.
call it annex accommodation.
Yeah.
When does annex accommodation become an extension?
So he's objecting still on the grounds of over-intensification.
It's got its own kitchen and bathroom. I think it's kind of classed as being separate, isn't it? Because it's kind of like separate living space.
No,
That's how I would describe it anyway.
annex is something that's between a passageway between the two, and it's a separate structure usually, I always think, annex.
Okay.
And if you've got a gap between the two, it's probably
Number 11, moving on, number 11, change garage windows and doors, a variation of condition.
I had a look at this one.
Yeah.
I couldn't really see much different, and I thought it'd be okay up there. If it's out of the way, I don't think it's much of a problem.
Leave it to
which
Interesting.
was this done, so.
It's the amount. Interestingly, this one's 5 years ago, so it's quite. would have thought it would lapse in. I don't know.
But no, but somebody must have, the variation of condition in there, what they're wanting,
Yeah.
that is probably because somebody's seen that they've done something they shouldn't have done,
Okay.
and they've probably done something wrong.
So are we wanting to leave this to Kirk, please?
Yeah.
Okay. That's number 12. And
Yeah.
inoffensive.
Took a while for me to get my head around this. There was a previous application which we supported, converting a garage, and they said someone was a parking space. But they're now keeping the garage, but extending the sunroom with the workshop underneath it. I took ages to get my head around the drawings. I don't know
Yeah,
if
it's
anybody
really
else did.
complicated. The right of land makes it really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, the materials are in keeping with what's there. I don't like flat roofs, but then that's just me. I thought fairly inoffensive than that.
I don't like flat roofs,
I don't.
but if somebody wants to put them on for cheapness, it's their own,
It is.
it's their own fault.
Yeah.
It's their own fault, because putting a flat roof on it is a mistake.
Can we comment, sorry, can we comment about the fact the plans are really unclear as to whether parking is affected by the layout as well? Because it really annoys me when people put plans and they don't show, well, actually, which bits are they
Yeah.
on the parking.
So
Particularly when they're talking about accounting, so it's
are we going to support it? I mean, I
Happy to
thought
support.
it was inoffensive, but a comment that
My
detail
assumption,
about planning was missing.
yeah, my assumption was because the keeping of it is that the parking is therefore kept, but yeah, it doesn't show it, does it?
Sort of, yeah. I don't know, I'm always a bit suspicious when people are adding things on the end of the garage, you think you're actually shrinking the garage. So you can't be simple.
You know that most people don't use the garage.
Well, I know, they use it as a store, don't they?
Yeah.
Where do you put the rubbish? You haven't got a garage.
To buy less.
We haven't got a garage. We just do it, goes off the house.
Right, okay, the next one's a listed building consent for Montfort Central, standard reply, is that?
Yeah, this is the one that's above the old Lloyd's Bank, and it just seems to be rearranging walls inside and replacing windows, but it was with nice timber windows, so I thought it was fine.
I think
We can leave it as
I think
a-
we can
It's
put
not-
it straight.
it's not-
supporting them all.
No, we just.
No, just
say
say
standard
it's
reply.
not keeping, is it?
Standard reply,
Hmm?
I think.
It'll be fine. What's the building people? Yeah.
And then got a Footstone one.
Yeah, I've had a look at this one. It's a side extension again, Windmill Lane, which is also it's right out on the way. I've had a look at it. I don't think there's any problem with it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
I had any strong feelings about it. Did
Is it?
anybody else have?
Oh no, it didn't on your side,
No.
it's his father-in-law's, isn't it?
The doors at the rear, it's a strange the whole layout's a bit odd, isn't it? The doors at the back.
So it's not big an extension. It's an extra room in it, downstairs room and upstairs bedroom in it, so it's not too big. So I'm okay with that.
Just support at all. Support? Oh, sorry, we're not voting, are we?
No, it's not.
We're okay, we're all okay.
Right. And the next one, number 15, is 81 Townend Road, Woodlale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the materials match the existing, they're still blue slate, but these are quite big extensions. I just wonder whether it was for the intensification, but what other people's views
How
are.
near is it to the boundaries? Because if it's a big plot, and they can
Yeah.
probably get away with a big extension.
It's also not stepped back from the existing building, which is the supplementary planning documents require extensions to be, so it's not subservient. It's huge, and I also thought it's removing some quite interesting features from the original building. And parking, not the question about parking as object. Okay. Oh, this is your page, Andy, isn't it? Every single one of these.
I can read it to picture these things.
I know, it's,
Yeah, Upper Meadows.
new.
Materials which existing, there is one objection on it. It goes on about the scale of the extension, narrow access road and view and sight lines. It isn't just an extension though, this to my mind, it's the raising the roof as well. And I think I would go along with the objection.
It's two-story instead of one, the extension. Well, it's demolition of the existing conservatory, which will be one story, and then now
Yeah,
the
in that respect.
one is for a double story extension of
But the extension is itself higher than the roof of the original. I would be inclined to object to this.
On what
It's
basis?
not subservient to
Not
the.
subservient.
Not in keeping.
Not subservient.
Stanley Street?
Interesting.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly sort of minor change, isn't it? But it is in conservation area.
It's a funny,
And it doesn't really fit with the style of the building.
it's a funny one, is Stanley Street, because my first house that I ever bought was on Stanley Street, and the owner did a runner to America, and everybody that lived in them, the tenants claimed them, all of them did.
Oh, what's called?
And one of them that was empty was half of what I bought, and they got I don't know, so there was some condition on it. Anyway, I know I got a look at profit.
I mean, it is
Well,
looking at all
they must have bought some land at the back, because they were right up to the soil at the ground level. The first floor will be up to the first floor at the back there will be on the level of the ground.
I mean, it's looking out over the field. There's no, it's not as if it's seen by anybody, but
What's the balcony?
It's in a pretty.
it's just
Isn't the balcony on ground level? Essentially.
Is it greenbelt development?
No, I don't think so.
no,
It is a conservation.
conservation.
It is a
Yeah,
conservation.
but is it greenbelt up to the back wall?
But they're not actually building on the ground.
They're not
this is
building,
just
it's just
Yeah,
really a
just a
balcony.
balcony.
They're effectively changing it from 2 windows to 2 big glass
Sorry,
windows.
I presume the balcony was too,
It's
I just
fairly
feel
inoffensive
it's-
in the right setting, isn't it?
I just thought it's one of these things, why do people buy an old house and then start trying to turn it into a modern one and get let in lots of light and so on, and I thought the balcony stuck on the back was ludicrous.
not
It's
a
not
appropriate development.
It's not in keeping.
Should be ludicrous.
Should we just leave it to the
Should we defer
officer?
to the deferred
No,
conservation officer?
it's like refuse it like keeping.
Inappropriate given
Yeah.
Yeah, so move to a more
Not
modern
in
house.
not-
And that's where the conservation officer should pick up on this as well.
Well, I guess there will be.
Don't buy those.
Not, you might be, I like to think so, yeah, if it's not, what's.
That's a good deal, 3 refusals in a row.
Oh, loads of refusals today.
We've never done that for a long time.
Next one.
We must be in a good humour tonight.
I'm going for it, yeah.
Right, we've still got some tricky ones to come let's keep moving.
Okay.
Number 18,
Yeah.
yep, number 18, again, sorry, Andy.
Banksville, rear and side extensions, materials match the existing. There is an objection from the next door, which is attached. And I think we've got a point here that what they describe as the rear is actually the front.
Yes, so that's how, yeah.
It's not set up in there. And there is this issue of overlooking, loss of light, I think is perfectly valid.
Refuse.
Banksville Townsville were council houses which were low cost, low value properties, and I think by putting extensions on those, restricting the young people today from being able to buy a property.
Well, we can't use it on that basis.
They're getting too expensive, and I think it's inappropriate.
So what was your view, Andy?
Opposed.
Opposed?
So did you say lots of light and
Object?
Yeah, overlooking and
overlooking?
Gosh, that's the whole page.
You've got it.
I have to put something on Facebook, planning, committee, figure 5, 6, 9, refuse half the applications.
It's weird, isn't it?
Andy, 8 and 6.
Well,
Oh, well, next one.
You do more.
Right, let's move on to the next one. As committee members will be aware, we've had a very long email from the applicant, 1.5 pages of tiny. And it's obviously caused a tremendous furore in this. 73 neighbour comments. Sorry, Andy, do you want to go? Oh, is it gone? Oh, no, it's went up with number 3. Yeah. What do you
yeah,
think?
I mean, interestingly, 66 of them opposed.
Yeah.
Untitled, does it? Oh, it does. 11 were supporting it, so 11 people supported this.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole mixture of things going on here. Most of the objections are for 2 reasons. Firstly, and the majority, is about the view from the public car park.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah.
And secondly, sort of highways issues, the concern about vehicles pulling out of this new entrance. If I take that second point first, I think actually it improves it because there's a garage there now.
The garage in the van is not good.
No.
Getting in and out of that's terrible.
I'm not sure that's valid. There are some positives as well to this. As I say, I think it improves the access and exit onto town gate. It's not ideal, but it's a lot better than it is now.
Is the garage going to be built down this new access?
Yes, it's inside.
You go through the existing old garage, which is on the frontage,
Right.
through it, and then park in
And
the
then they're
garage.
building the
Yeah.
garage in
Yeah.
front of the bit,
And
and
there's
there's
one-
one where people would have the
And there's room to turn round.
The wall that they talk about, 6 foot wall, well, that's to keep the livestock from getting onto the road and such what. I don't disagree with that. And if people sitting in a pub car park want a view, they should go to the top of Castle Hill.
As I say, I think there's some interesting points here. If you go back to 2019, look on Google,
Yeah,
that car park was a car park.
yeah,
It's now a car park
and the
with,
beer garden.
yes. And it's actually got quite a low wall, I would say. What about this side? At the other side, it's a long way down.
It'll drop at the other side, yeah.
So, from the pub's point of view, they've got a nice view out.
Yeah,
From the people that live there, they're probably saying, well, this isn't a car park anymore, we've got a pub in our garden almost.
exactly.
And so they're wanting to put the wall up to 6 foot,
Yeah,
I guess to give them some privacy.
yeah, and say if you have livestock.
I'm not sure about the
I don't think
livestock,
about
but,
livestock.
I just mentioned something about that in the plans actually. You mentioned something like that. 'Cause I've had a look at this one. I don't normally look at perform ones, but I was asked to look at this one because I know the applicant's parent, dad, and he asked me to have a look at it and see what I thought. And basically, so I know the guy. Like I was going to say, well, it's Andy's ward, so I was going to go with what Andy thinks, but when I looked at it, like I said, I agree with Andy, the access looks better. Converting the old, it's an old barn, isn't it? Kind of that kind of area, doing kind of things like that. It doesn't look like they're really increasing the blueprint much. But like I said, I can understand why the pub would be a bit annoyed about the wall going up there. But I don't know what planning consideration you can give. What reason to refuse can you give because of the wall? Is it black and white? Is it? I don't know. I can understand why they're not happy about it. They might not like it very much. But I've got sympathy with the applicants because it seems like they've had a bit of a torrid time over it all, and you shouldn't really. Well, quite often planning can cause big fallouts between neighbours and things like that, and it's sad. And it seems to be they've had a lot of abuse and things like that. But that shouldn't affect whether we would look at the application. We need to kind of judge it on its own merits.
I think further complicating it, it's in a conservation area as well, so I guess.
There was a comment in the letter that was sent saying that there were Cumarinas. Well, they're Cumabacas, aren't they?
Well, that wouldn't matter.
No, I'm just saying that's not a nice comment to be referred to as a Cumarina.
Oh dear, let's do it half.
Oh, you saw.
Like me, I'm a Cumarina.
You are, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a
The
former.
Rachel,
No,
the
no,
Rachel,
just-
I was born over when we moved here.
Comment about, as far as I made out from looking at the plans, the outbuilding wasn't in the same place as where the garage is going, is it? It's
No,
the
no,
outbuilding,
just
so
further
effectively
on.
there was,
Yeah.
if you were sitting in the front car park, and there was the outbuilding was there,
Yeah.
so then it's going to be a garage there. I had sort of no, I suppose I had no issues with what they were doing with the house, and all the extensions they did in the house, and I take what you said about reversing out the garage was what's being proposed. But I suppose I did think, well, within your land, they could have been more accommodating of the fact that it is a house adjacent to a public house and recognise the impact it will have. Because I know I think if I'm a landlord of the Royal Oak and it goes ahead as it is, it would be quite tempting to then seek to build a raised terrace to then give you your view again.
Yeah.
That'll be overlooking.
Yeah,
Because
it could be overlooking, yeah.
But I suppose, but I mean, there is no right to a view.
No.
But
Yeah.
to some extent, if you move next to a public house, you move next to a public house, and you know what that involves. And I think it's a little bit
A lot of people move next to a
churlish.
public house, so they have to buy to walk.
Well, maybe so. They're really not going to be welcome at public house if
No.
they've got their, garage right in front of you and build this big wall.
It's already been banned.
So,
Sounds like it.
Yes.
Contact letter, they've been
Yes,
banned.
that's right.
They said they were banned on
I-
the
So I suppose I'm concerned about the impact on
Yes.
the fact the garage is being put somewhere which was previously just a bit of green,
Other-
rather than where the outbuilding
But
was.
they've kept it deliberately low,
No,
haven't they?
no.
I'd have been more
And
concerned
about the height of the
if
fence.
they were planning in to knock the house down and the barn down and build on the field.
I just wonder whether there's some compromise on the
I do.
height of this wall.
I-
Does it have to be 6 foot?
I think the wall's slightly lower than it would be.
Well,
Acceptable.
you've said it already, haven't you? The wall is 3 foot high. There's 3 foot below the level. So it is, if it's 6 foot up, it's 6 foot from bottom to top. And if it's 6 foot from top to bottom, that's not much more than what there is now.
They're wanting it 6 foot above the car park.
Yeah,
6 foot above the car park.
yeah.
So that's going to be a 10 foot wall.
Well, it basically means there's no view from if you're standing
Yeah.
at the pub.
Shall we defer to the police officers, or do we want to?
No, I think we make a decision. I think we make a decision.
In principle, I have no problem with it.
I'm inclined to support.
I'm against the landlord in
But
this one.
perhaps draw attention to the.
I think there's room to manoeuvre on
Yes.
some of the detail, but I think.
Well, can we
in
say-
principle, support it.
Support in principle, can we be clear about the reasons why we support in principle? So support in principle because the highways access would be improved.
Yes. And it's also improved the street frontage by taking down the,
Yes.
flat frontage
One thing-
vehicles. Yeah.
As far as I can make out, but I may have misread the plans, is I thought it turned from 2 beds to 5 beds.
It does.
Which does change the number of cars that you would therefore expect to be using the property.
Yeah.
There is quite a bit of space down the bottom,
Yeah.
down there. I think so I think there will be sufficient parking spaces down
Okay.
there for it.
There will be 5 bedrooms,
But I
isn't there?
just wonder, can we say, given the level of local concern, because to be fair, it's a huge amount of
Well,
concern
yes.
from the local public house, or users of the local public house, we would urge Kirklees to encourage some dialogue to compromise on the height of the wall.
Yeah.
Because I think even if the garage is there, if the height of the wall is reduced slightly, then the Royal Oak can still retain some view. Because to be fair, if something is 2 metres high, you can't even see the view over the over the top when you're standing. Most people.
Pub's higher than that room there at the back. That's sort of like I don't know, a glass area where the pool table used to be. I don't know whether it's still there or not. It wasn't an high window.
I mean, it is a fact.
There's plenty of room. There's plenty of
Yeah,
height there.
it's great. Yeah, I sat out at the back there before on a beer and really enjoyed it. Like, it's one of those places actually where me and Mrs. have been away and we was driving past someone to get a drink on the way home from somewhere.
Right,
And we
okay.
just went there and actually went to the big thing until you go to the back and you think, oh, it's really nice.
Your view's up there, not down there.
Anyway, I think we've come to a decision which is support in principle, but given the level of concern, encourage dialogue, particularly over the height of the wall. Okay,
Yeah,
happy
I'll
with
do
that?
that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
thank
I'm
you.
saying I abstain because I
Okay.
said another
Yeah.
applicant, so that's why I haven't really spoken about it. So
Right,
it's fine.
the next one's detached dwelling on Stony Croft, Upperthorne again.
You want me to start?
Yes.
They have taken pre-application advice, which was actually quite critical of the dominance. And having said that, they don't seem to take much notice of it. They've had outline planning permission. Previous application refused due to prominent location, size, scale, massing, three-storey design.
Everything?
Very little detail, I thought. There's nothing on sustainability, renewable energy, no climate mitigation statement. I just don't think it's a lot different to the previous application.
I think it's getting bad how many things you've got to do to get a plan application through these days with all these conditions.
Some of them are very lazy.
When I think that before, going back in the day, the VAT officer used to go out and inspect sites. You've now got to get VAT reports before and after, and one thing and another, and the amount of money it costs. I think Police Council and other councils are both all the same. They're asking for far too much.
They don't make the plan laws.
This has got, they make their own interpretations.
Oh, it has to be,
They
yeah, obviously.
interpret it.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes to be a mess. But this property has planning permission for outline, it has outline planning.
Yeah.
Are we going to refuse it on style and design? So we can't refuse it as an application, it's going to get planning for something.
We can oppose it on the basis of what it was opposed for before. It's really not much different.
Right.
Okay, shall we oppose it, or object rather?
Yeah, another objection. Back into it now.
For advertising, not bad.
And the grounds
We
have
could have five.
not met the previous objections from when it was refused, yeah?
I think I've put my bit in about the sustainability.
Yes,
thing as well.
yeah.
We don't
Yes, we
they
should
seem to
do.
just don't bother, do they?
No.
Next one's all about sustainability. And support it.
However-
Support it.
However, right. No, it's fine. It's where we moved the bench, isn't it? Or didn't, in fact, didn't move the bench.
Opposite the school.
It is obvious.
Yeah, it's a nice place. Is it the right place for a windmill so close to houses?
It's not too
I
big. is it?
think there's enough ground at the back of those houses that they bought after
Well, they're moving it
that'll
away
make it.
appropriate amount.
It's always
Yeah.
windy up there.
It's in the middle, it's
Very windy.
probably in the middle of the field behind, opposite the school. I mean, given,
Yeah,
you
the
know,
both
energy,
little
do anything.
little craft at the back.
There is one objection from the British Horse Society, is it? Which I thought was a bit.
It was a bit petty and it was a bit,
Horse
a
society.
bit ridiculous. It
Well,
was-
they're arguing that the lane that they're wanting to use
Yeah.
At the
for
back.
access,
Yeah.
the British Horse Society say that that is, in their view, a bridleway,
Yeah.
not a footpath,
Yeah.
which is still under contention.
Yeah.
That's their argument. And as such, HGVs cannot use it,
Yeah.
so
To
it should
bring
be
in-
refused.
To bring in the wind.
Yeah. But they're also talking as if HGVs need to use it regularly.
And about frightening the horses, I think that was it.
No.
Anyway, like, we're supporting.
Anyway,
I can see what they're saying, but once it's erected, As you would imagine, apart from any maintenance and anything, nobody needs to go there.
It's a
It's
vertical
school
one as
anyway,
well.
won't it?
It's a vertical one, which I
Take them
think
out.
would be
It,
interesting.
it probably is a right away going on to Longing and there.
It's surely they could knock a hole in the wall and get in.
That's
Can we
right.
move to number 22, please, which is complex changes here, and
Yeah.
I have difficulty viewing it on the computer. Just stay on the phone though. Tom?
Yeah, I've had a look at this one, and it's already a massive house with another part to it. I can't remember what it was called. Gateway. There's another bit to it where it's kind of currently garages anyway. So making some changes to the big house, which I kind of objected to because they're getting rid of the snooker room. Why are they getting rid of the snooker room? They're making the kitchen bigger. So I wouldn't do that. It's already got, there's a swimming pool there already as well. It's got a swimming pool, it's got a snooker room, it's got.
I'm not a bit jealous of it.
I think Robert's over this.
If I was to win the lottery, I probably would. Anyway, yeah. So it's very nice. It's very big, and the extensions aren't really changing too much about it, to be honest. The other part is that the outbuilding, which is currently garages, but there's going to still be garages around the space and plenty of space for parking. I don't see there's any highway issues coming out from there onto the main road.
No.
I suppose cars do come out there quite fast, but it's not going to change too much. I think it's okay.
Okay, support, I thought it was alright.
Yeah.
Anybody else support?
Yeah, apart from getting rid of the snooker room, it's fine.
It's a bit glass factory.
Yeah.
When did you used to
But it's out in the way. It's out in
Then
the
you
way.
used to go down them again, it's not really wet.
I don't play snooker, no.
Okay, number 23, Holdale, it's discharge of conditions, shall we leave
Leave it to
standard
them.
reply,
Leave
it.
to them? And then, more Andy's, the Andy show this, certificate, 24, certificate of lawfulness, containing it complies with permissive development, not much detail.
No, I mean, it's a shed, isn't it? It's regarding
It's a shed, it's a shed.
But the drawings were hopeless.
Yeah, absolutely.
It don't tell you what it's made from, its size, its
No.
colour. I just thought leave it to,
Shall we say no?
leave it to the care, please,
Leave it,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
because it's in conservation area.
Yeah. And 25 Fulston again, Tom.
Yeah, I've had a look at this one, and I must admit, I only saw the side extension to it. I didn't see the detached garage, stall, gym, and
Little pool.
formation of vehicle access. So there's a bit more to this than I thought there was. And I know the site of it up there, and it's quite a bit away from the main road and the other houses. There's a few houses up this little track. So I imagine it's got quite a bit of space to do it, and I don't think there should be too many problems with it, but I'll be open to other opinions as well.
So it's up that little back road.
Yeah.
I thought it was good, because I mean, because access is difficult, isn't it, and the garage, getting to the garage, so it seems sensible, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought there was too much glass to do kind of carry on.
If everyone else is okay with it, then I'm happy
Yeah.
with it.
Support?
Yeah.
Support, thanks. 26. 2 dwellings.
Mm.
2 4-bedroom dwellings.
Do for
What's
them,
going to affect?
No pre-app advice sought.
No.
There's been an objection on the grounds of environmental overdevelopment of the site and reducing parking opportunity for others. Materials seem to be in keeping in the stone and low slates. Didn't think the drawings were very good. Nothing again on sustainability, no climate mitigation statement. I thought it was a lazy application to say this is 2 4-bed houses, and it's like drawn back, fact packing.
Yeah, like it used to be.
I'm trying to think where it is. Where is it? Just not
Trying to remember.
It's only a narrow frontage, isn't it?
Yes, it
You
is.
get be past it really before you realise
Yeah.
it was there.
Wait a
I
minute.
mean, it's
How far
Which
is
way it is now.
halfway up.
it? It's going up plug-in, isn't it? From Main Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Town Road, yeah.
Down the road.
And halfway up.
How
is it?
far up is it?
Halfway on the way.
Oh, I think I know what you
Yeah.
mean there. Yeah.
It's sort of tough. isn't it?
Did you have any comments?
Well, I wrote down that it was, yeah, I thought it might be a bit overbearing, because there was some physical gradient of it. But to be honest, I don't really know that kind of layout of all those buildings there, but I know it's quite a steep sort of hillside, so. And I hadn't clocked it was 2 4-bed houses, so that does seem over intensification.
So are we tending to
Happy to
objecting?
object,
I'm
yeah.
happy with object.
Yeah.
Object, yeah, building intensification. And new climate mitigation scheme.
Yeah.
Begin to wonder sort of what they're doing is the validation team that look at the applications when they come in. You know, some of these I think should have got through validation really.
I think we should do away with that. I think it's totally disgusting. I think it gives the opportunity for some people, well, to just get their backs up and decide that I did one, and they would have told me that the local councillor said they didn't want it, and it was a valid application. It would have been no problem at all to anybody.
Anyway,
And it just doesn't gel with me, because if a ward Kirklees councillor is going to make a decision for
no, it's
the
not.
plan-
No, it's not about that. It's just about the documentation that's submitted.
Yeah, I know, but we shouldn't.
And it's the team. It's the team.
If we didn't do them,
It's the clerical team.
if we didn't do them, the officers would have a lot more time to do what they do, and they could cut down on all this bureaucracy and get on with doing what planners should do.
Can we look at number 27?
Yeah, I'm having a look at this one, so look at the rock also ones as well. So it's just up the right hand side, the old church. It's one of the things that them roads, I've driven that road loads of times, and I suppose I didn't really notice it as much, but there's a big church there, isn't there? But
Yeah.
There is.
it stopped being used last year for services. I mean, the London's convert part of the room says into single joint for excise classes and other community uses, which is a bit weird.
Yeah.
I just thought that they would convert the whole thing into maybe a house or 2 houses or something like that, rather than having the space for community, but it might be because the people who own the house want to use it for excise classes themselves. I don't really.
It's weird,
I
but
wonder if it was
it's weird though, because they've got the village, the Rockholmes Village Hall
Yeah, it's okay.
across the road, which can be used for the classes.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, that's not our concern really.
I'm not sure what. I thought it seemed okay. I just thought it was a bit weird. What do you think, Rachel? You must think.
Yeah, I thought it was quite a curious arrangement, having community hall downstairs, because you think, how does that work with sound and everything? But I wondered if there was some sort of arrangement when it was sold that there was a condition that they had to retain some sort of community use, because
Maybe.
it is sort of on to, because the style of the building from the plans, it looks as if therefore there would be an entrance, the community hall bit would be sort of separate within the building. I thought it looked fine, to be honest, in terms of there's a sympathetic reuse of quite a handsome building, really. You know, there's no knocking out the nice windows and retain the style whilst recognising it is now private.
I think there are really clever things with the windows, I think. It was really good. And there was mentioned two air source, or an air source heat pump as well, so.
Oh, that's
So
good.
commend that as well.
So commend that fact. So we support.
I think it's something there's going to be one. There might be another one coming up soon, another church which might be getting sold at Wardale. So it might be something seeing this more common. I think.
And over the years, there have been quite a few chapels and things.
Chapel's just been sold, but yeah, it did, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
That's where they used to live.
Chapel, yeah. Right, 28, conservatory with a garden room, not a garden room.
It's gone back lane, home first, yeah. One of those moments when you go, really, there's a house that looks like that? Because I've forgotten it was that. Yeah, it's a funny looking black and white mock Tudor house behind the church. And they're replacing the conservatory, and I thought it seemed okay, to be honest. I mean, it's a funny looking.
Is it in keeping with the rest of the property?
Well,
near enough.
So
I mean, the house
Because
is
it's a weird, wonderful house that with mock Tudor.
Yeah.
Is it mock Tudor the extension?
garden.
The
Well,
garden?
it kind of like it looks as if it will
It'll fit with it.
I don't think the conservatory would have been very mod Tudor in its ways. To be
Well,
honest.
it could be made to look like.
And in the conservation areas, this might actually be.
Evidently those beams are painted concrete.
Yeah, I thought
It's
that.
not. So we support it.
Yeah,
So, okay,
Yeah.
support, just straightforward support,
Yeah.
okay. And then Andy again, number 29, the single
Lane.
story,
Provincial Cottage.
Provincial
Vince Cottage,
Cottage.
isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Materials all match the existing, good old flat roof again, which I'm keen on, but you can't see it from the road. I don't think I had any issues apart from the fact that it's in a conservation area. Whether the conservation officer would have a view on that, I don't know.
That's support.
A support.
Support.
I'm sure they'll refuse it.
Yeah. And then another one, this was a strange one, this one, yeah. We didn't pull down half the
Caravan and bars.
Yeah,
and
the
bars.
caravan.
This is budget, isn't it?
If it's wood, I'm signing the boat. I see the man regular at the back,
It is, isn't it? This is budget.
and it will be.
Yeah.
Have you got a house up there yet? I thought you got plans for a house.
Well,
Was it living in a caravan?
Presumably not living in a caravan, no. Okay,
Well, there's storing caravans in them farm buildings.
it's up a home valley, somehow, strangely, right.
It's an odd one, isn't it? It's in Greenbelt. This barn should have been demolished as part of the last planning application that they got to build another barn, but they've kept part of it. But their argument is it's still smaller than the old barn would be. Alright, so they've got a new barn and a bit of an old one that is smaller than the whole of the old one, with it so far.
Right.
And then he's put a caravan inside it.
They can't see it, so.
Which you can actually see because it's.
There is others in the home valley.
Because it's open at that end.
Yeah.
There is others in the home valley like that.
Yeah.
But the argument is he needs this accommodation because it's agricultural, he looks after sheep. I know the guy does look after sheep, doesn't he?
Not many now.
Especially if it's like lambing time and
He's
stuff
got
like
the
that.
Osage bit as well, hasn't he?
It's all over them that go on Mossage.
Oh, right.
It's all 100 years for the day.
The only thing that seemed odd to me was that the quote in the Kirklees local plan, and in there it says temporary use should be 3 years, and they're asking for 5.
Yeah.
So perhaps we should just say, well, 3 years. Or perhaps we should say we should pull the whole thing down.
No, it's either refuse or
I would support that.
I would support.
Can we just support it?
Yeah, it's a bit weird, but it's not, is it hurting anybody?
No, it's in the middle.
I guess
Exactly,
I
so
guess
I'm
somebody's,
very
I guess somebody's dogged them in, I imagine that's.
Yeah.
So there were other things going on, they've got a little sort of.
Oh yes, problems with them with other parties.
Yes, yes.
Okay, the next, it's a discharge of conditions, is another one, so we'll just do this standard
Yeah.
line, thank you. And then finally we've got a Homley one, which I thought was okay, did anybody else?
Yeah.
Is this the Northern Road one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got materials
Just
match.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, there could have been overlooking, to get that through glass, so I think it's fine to spot. Thank you, everybody, that was a bit of an interesting.
I thought we got some interesting ones to come up.
We did.
I don't think so much to come up, has it?
Back to the
It seems to take longer to go through.
We did tend to, well, I think.
No, I don't mean in the meeting, but that's.
You mean at home? No, we
Kind of like,
tended to, but that's all.
Okay, it's
That
fine.
really-
All talking up.
Yeah.
We got really bored at one point.
Ah.
Oh, they were all fascinating. Right, so the back to the agenda, item 74, planning officer's decisions, so can we look with it?
Noted.
There were quite a few
Noted.
discrepancies when disagree.
Well, there's going to be a lot more in next week.
Who
Who is this Andy? Who is this man? We should make him a planner.
Number 75, conservation area awareness. We've had the reply from Sebastian Pickles.
Anyone find it helpful?
I thought it was quite good that he actually replied.
He replied.
B didn't just say, well, he actually gave a little bit of information. Rather than
So we've been asked to consider any further action. I mean, it would be quite good to do something, really.
well, to be fair, he did also share
There was
a
some
bit
quite,
of some links,
there was
which I
some
think
quite
we could look to
there
add
were
on our
quite
website, at least on the planning
at
page
least
of our
yeah.
website.
One of them, I think, that's not the right one.
I don't
I followed one of them, and the other one didn't take me to the right
The
place.
historic England one, there's something in there that might be useful.
Yeah, I thought like that.
And maybe we could reproduce that.
Yeah.
I mean, think in the longer term, I think it might be quite useful to actually produce our own document, really, because it's quite difficult to find information if you want to put share. If you're going to do any of these things, it might be quite useful for us to
Yeah,
do.
Well, I think fundamentally, probably the first thing we just need to make people aware when they're in the conservation area.
Yes, yeah,
What they do out thereafter
Yeah.
is kind of up to them.
yeah.
Um,
Yes, I think that the link to the conservation area maps was good, so we should perhaps put that in the notes.
Yeah, well, I think probably what I'll do on Facebook is just do one map every week or something. And,
You can start off, you can have to start off with, did you know there are
Then there's,
how many, there's 13
yeah,
conservation areas in the Valley, and then on our website, maybe on the planning page, just that you could put all the links in there.
Yeah.
But then, by all means, every week on Facebook, do conservation area of the week.
because I think it's very because
It's a lot, yeah. I think it's
as somebody who's done something wrong with this building that I live in, because I've got a satellite dish. But I think it's just flagging up stuff like this.
Yes.
It's just flagging up stuff like that. I think that people just want to be aware of.
Yeah, yes, I think so. It's like a simple list, really. If you want to put a share, you've got to go through planning.
Yeah. Well, the fact
Definitive list, though, is
no, but I think the fact that you just need to ask somebody in planning at that point. There's even problems with cutting down trees. Not just cutting them down, but trimming trees is a problem, isn't it, in a conservation area? So
I think that's
and
That's
putting.
the point.
I think
awareness first.
around me, I think there's a lot of sheds that have gone up without planning permission, which I think people just won't be aware of. They'll just think it's a shed. I don't need planning permission normally, but it's because it's in a conservation area.
And my son's done exactly that, and he didn't know it was in a
Yeah.
He just did that.
So strategy is
Well,
first.
I think these people don't realise that it's necessary
They
to
don't.
put planning for a
He
shed.
didn't know it was in conservation, never mind whether it was necessary.
Well, you should have been informed about that when you bought your property.
So the strategy is the first thing is to give people information about where are the boundaries of the conservation areas, and then we can move on to a bit more detail about what exactly what what they can and can't do. Moving on, okay, Lord's Mill. So again we've had a response from Sebastian Pickles, and he wants to discuss it with the new team leader before responding fully, so that's fine. Actions from the neighbourhood development plan. It's chair to report, right. So I have it was a bit late, wasn't I? But I recirculated the latest version to the planning committee members. I could recycle or recirculate that. The latest version to all councillors, asking if they've got any updates, send them to me and I'll incorporate them. I think it's
I mean, it's going to change all the time, isn't it? Because it's a working document. And I thought it might be on the kind of on the anniversary. Well, maybe just after, because it's December, isn't it? The anniversary of when the NDP was made. It might be interesting, perhaps, to do something a bit more at that point. Just to say something about how much has been done.
We'll leave that to you, Chair.
Thank you, Paul.
Your concern is gratefully abounded.
Right. Okay, we're happy with what I've just said.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to mark the sort of anniversary. As you say, in December, and say, and even if it's just a comment, because it could be a little news story, couldn't it?
Yes,
And you can be a quote from the news saying, you know, we're delighted to see that police officers are now, because actually in a lot of their decision letters, you know, they really do quote the development plan.
Yes,
And
they
actually,
do,
increasingly, applicants are also quoting bits of the development plan. So I think it's quite good if we can reflect on the fact that we've noticed as a committee greater use of it. I was pleased to say that in our meeting of September, we objected to over half of the applications.
we didn't cite the name.
But I think we could say, you know, we're particularly keen to continue to encourage sustainability measures and all that sort of thing. And then,
Right, okay, thanks.
good idea.
Move on, right, traffic calming, yes, thanks for the list of combined authority sustainable transport delivery plan. I ploughed through the whole lot and then realised it was on the last page, the Kirklees one.
I didn't really want to just chop it out.
Yeah, no, of course not. But it's so interesting looking at the
I
other
think we
side.
want to stop this 20 mile an hour idea, because I like to go fast when I'm in the limited area, and then go slow when I get into the bloody countryside. As I was told at the speed awareness course that I went on, but when you're taking notice, I said, I want to get out of there as quickly as possible so I'm not going to cause an accident. And then I can go in the countryside and enjoy and see what the farmers are up to. And go slow in the countryside. And I'm just the opposite from every bugger else. Sorry, I shouldn't have sworn. Everybody else, I should have said.
Right, thank you.
Can
Paul.
I just
Yes.
comment quickly on the list of things? I think it's also interesting to note that Huddersfield Bus Station, it's just for useful information, given, you know, encouraging people to use it, is also getting improvements in operational and passenger facilities, pedestrian access, blah blah blah, new cycle hub, and so it's, you know, there is investment going into public transport, which is really good. And I think there was also something about e-vehicle charging, which I thought was interesting, which is the point above the one about the. Oh, and I know what I meant to bring. Our local MP, don't know if anyone else got the flyer through the door about 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago possibly, campaigning, if that sounded low. But on the back it had that Jason McCartney is championing a road safety campaign.
Oh, that's good.
So in fact I think I took a photo of it on my phone. I'll just try and say what I said. And I thought it was really interesting that he was championing that, because I thought that was an ally that we could build a relationship with.
Whilst you're doing that, something that I picked up was a demand responsive bus schemes. I mean, there's been a lot of furore about the removal of the 316 service going through Kirkroyd. So I mean, so that's yes, apparently it's an East Leeds Flexibus scheme, and it's been piloted. So I do think Flexibus is that's what
Can somebody tell me something?
Well,
Well, I missed something in that. But I saw a double-decker bus today, and it was stopped. The company that had done the...
Was it a school one?
Yeah, I don't know if it's school one or not.
Maybe it's school one.
Because stops were always coaches, and they do the minibus service. I've never known I was a double-decker bus.
It wouldn't have been one of ours, running one of the school ones. But Kirkroyd is served by the minibus. So the minibus can take passengers down to Firth, and then they have to change there. But
yeah, it can, but it's a bit. If you've got
Those housing estates weren't built for buses.
Why do they insist on running double-decker buses then?
well, they've only started
because
doing it
it's
about
full,
10.
if you live, and I use the buses, and it can be full leaving from Huddersfield, so that's what they say, that it, you know, they can't run small, they can't run a minibus on that route because it's full, and it is when it leaves when it leaves the bus.
I mean,
They have only started doing it about in the last 10 years, putting them on the estate there. It's caused loads of problems with car parked cars and things like that. And I was against it at the time, like, but the minibus does it. Our minibus does cover that route still, so people can just still get around.
Yeah.
But I think the residents have grown used to being able to get a bus to town from there rather than having to walk down to the mill. Or walk up the hill, which can be quite steep. I can get what they mean,
Yeah.
but there still is the minibus serving it. And as well, single deckers actually. Single deckers are actually longer than double deckers, so they're actually less manoeuvrable than double deckers are.
The single deck buses are wider.
They are wider than double deckers.
So that's entirely down there, but I did go on to entertainment, and about 3 of us on a double decker bus going in there.
Well, you see,
Estate like that, and I just thought.
in theory, that estate,
Time for minibus.
Right,
but that estate isn't the
Sorry,
best.
I can't choose to remind it,
Yeah.
Just before I used to look that was it?
but I just want to raise awareness that our local MP is obviously running some sort of campaign about safer roads and reducing speed limits, particularly around schools. So I think it's probably worth us thinking about maybe at the next meeting, writing a letter to him to say, you know, we'd be interested in hearing what
Yes,
your
but
There's so many cars around schools, that's the problem.
right, anyway, Andy went I attended a Kirtley's briefing, so
No, he didn't postpone it
he
to
postponed it, that's not happening,
26th
okay, right?
of October.
Okay, so moving on to the documents J and K. Thanks, lots of thanks to Andy actually for this. You're asked to develop or list some criteria for 20 mph limits, so we did that. And then listed areas of which I've been notified. I know this is not comprehensive, of 8 of them there. So to consider approving the chair's report.
I mean, yes, I certainly approve that.
sorry, does that mean the suggested areas for action? Is that what we mean?
I think the thing that's lacking here is input from other areas, isn't it?
We need more.
Hang on, sorry, what are we approving then?
I think that
Well, the words are to consider approving the chair's report.
Just the one page.
Sorry, I'm not.
3 pages.
Is this J?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the chair's report, okay.
I'm happy to approve it.
It's as a basis for work. I mean, it's not a completed document really. But
I just wonder how we push it on again to get
yeah.
other areas involved, you know, people that live in the other
I
areas
mean,
putting
yeah.
forward their suggestions.
Well, I did get when I contacted all of the councillors, I did get some feedback from a couple of them. Michael Poxon and Darren Gould. I think that was it. But it might be worth circulating and asking, so that they see that their particular areas are not on here. Or we could add more areas.
They should see it in the minutes go out to full council,
Yeah.
so we can mention it again at full
Yeah.
council for anyone wants in any other areas or to email the clerk about it. But
I'm a bit concerned about your comment made, number 5, New Mill Road to Home High Walk, the school stretch, reduce speed limit to 20 or reinforce existing 30. I remember years ago getting stopped on that road, and I didn't realise at the time that it was any less than 40. I only got a warning, I didn't get anything other than that. But that's such a prime example. These children that walk down that road ought to do like we used to do. When I was at Holmford High School, I caught a bus which dropped me at the technical college, and I caught a bus to Hornbridge from there. All those children are walking, and they're causing, to me, a danger to themselves and to the drivers of cars. And I'm not in favour of all them children walking, and it's same to New Mill.
Well, you want them to get the bus,
I want to see them get on buses.
so they have to pay to get the bus rather than use their legs to be
Yeah.
active.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's
Transport.
Yeah, that keeps them off. That keeps
We
them
need
off.
to take the motorists.
It keeps them off the road and it saves them from getting.
Yeah, it makes them
There's
overweight.
been odd ones that have got knocked down. There's been 2 occasions where people have been killed on that road in my existence.
I think things
And
have
I
changed.
don't agree.
The world's moved on.
You know, the cars are much faster, they're quieter, there's a lot more of them.
People should be able to walk.
I mean, I used to
I mean, it is
go
an
where I
introduce.
wouldn't now.
I mean, I think it is a very valid structure because there was a fatality some years ago. A young person was.
And there've been accidents. Well, the other issue is the way down Murray Lane to Thornsbridge. That's terrible.
Hopefully
There's an
there's
accident at least
So
once a
that's,
year.
It's very narrow, it's very narrow
Put
as
some
park
cars,
cars.
haven't they, on,
so they've had to
some weight on.
put reduction on
I don't think
Oh,
that's
Spring
as
Street,
bad.
yeah, I haven't been on it.
Yes.
It's pretty much Stewart Road from the top where the Sycamore used to be all the way around to just past
And that's
where the
very-
chip shop is.
Very effective, isn't it?
Well, what-
It is effective. I drive slower down there. I used to go about 25, 30, but I don't go over 20 over speed bumps. And it just slows down.
Another thing that just really aggravated me, not being able to use the road down Springwood during the 6-week school holiday because of roadworks. I thought they were doing something constructive like a water main or something. They just put 9 humps in the road. And that is 9 damages to my back every time I go over one. It's dirty back.
It's to make it safer, isn't
It's
it?
best to do it.
What does it do? It doesn't make it any slower, it makes it safer. Children going to school, they walk on the other roads, they don't use that road.
Can we feel the
Anyway,
meetings
yeah.
kind of
Yeah, there's got a bit of a point there actually.
the meetings deteriorating? It's you know, it's the buses really, isn't it?
I'm sorry for
Can
being
we
deteriorating.
decide? Everybody's talking at once. So I'll be approving that report as it
Yeah.
is, and okay, fine. And then at this point, do we wish to identify specific locations so that we can presumably send to these Twitchers in terms of a 20-minute review? Tom?
I think our immediate priority should be over people who, I mean, that's as much sense around, as much sense of vehicles and they could be like children. So I think number 1 was the primary schools, isn't it? Or high schools as well. So I think that they have I think that should be our main priority out of it, schools.
The concern I've got is the children fall about on the road, and there's one where somebody gets pushed out into the road like a girl did when Robert was at school, and that's going back 40 years since nearly. Father was a counsellor at that time, and it was tragic. But children don't. We've seen this last week that somebody's been killed with a knife incident at school in Huddersfield. All it needs is for some of them kids to start playing silly legs on the road, and somebody tries to get out of the way, an incident that somebody's caused, and they get hit by a car.
Yeah, but
And I feel for the drivers. There was one driver, I really felt for him. He got.
Can I suggest that I don't think we can go to this Twitcher just to say
Yeah.
all the
Absolutely
schools. I think we
Well,
need to
well,
do.
in fact, but Kirklees are considering
Yeah.
review speed limits, and that does include, or in the Home Valley, that includes the introduction of 20 miles speed limit around schools. So
Okay, well,
we
yeah,
can
okay,
with that.
we can
We should
reinforce.
reinforce
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But I personally think we should
Yeah.
choose a village centre as well to try that, be it Waldale, Epworth, or there's a few others on the
I think Tom has a good point there though, and I did wonder about eventually when we get all this together, coming up with sort of a table, and we can weight some of these
Okay.
things more than others, can't we?
Yeah. Yes.
So we could say, well, if it's a
Yeah.
school, we'll weight that heavier than some other
Yeah.
factor. And also, you could end up with a some score, if you like, so that you've taken some of the opinion out of it. We've got a score top of the list is this one for these reasons.
One thing I would say about Hepworth and Waldale towns, the village centres is that they are quite built up and have a lot of cars around them. So a lot of people, you can't really drive that fast through them anyway.
No.
So if anything, actually, with Wardale there's a couple of one-way roads. There's one that goes down from the pub, and sometimes if cars go down there, sometimes it can be a bit sneaky. They go faster than they should do because they know it's a one-way.
And there's no footpath.
And also, there's no, it's blind around the corner as well, just below where the wreck is. So people can be a bit cheeky there, but I think all in all, I'd say that most people will stick to the speed limits on their roads as it is at the moment, or even drive slower because they have to do. So I would not have that as one, and then that's my own ward, and there might be some people at Heppel who would be annoyed with me for saying that, because there has been people complaining about Heppel School not being safe down there before, but I don't see that kind of go there during the peak time, so I'm not fully aware of it. But I just think schools should be a priority, but
I think the problem that Epworth.
But like, if you just want two sites to do a trial, maybe we could just do a Wardale and Epworth and just see how it goes, and hopefully if it goes through and it's a trial, then they can adopt it elsewhere.
If you remember when you were at Epworth, they used to encourage parents to go in and read with the children when they dropped them at school. And if every parent in a car was to leave the cars there, it was getting horrendous. I know I got reprimand for not having gone in with Robert once, and the amount it was that I thought there were too many cars there, and you want to clear the area.
Can we come back to decide what we're doing? So to reinforce that we're in support of 20 miles per hour around all the schools.
Yep.
And do we want to take up Tom's suggestion that we also suggest to this at this point as a kind of interim finding that to consider the centre of schools and Epworth?
Well, I think they'll be two which will be quite easy to implement, and so they can be basic pilot schemes. But like I'd like to see the schools as a priority.
I know we're getting a bit territorial, but I think homes are good.
Home.
Yeah, that's another. Actually, I'd say that's quite better.
Speed count in there already, and
Yes.
I mean there's an awful lot of motorbikes and race cars.
Right.
and
So are people happy with that then? If we
The
have
village itself, Andy, or
I
the
would,
schools.
personally, I would extend it further than just the village.
Yeah.
But yes.
It's not I thought you were meaning schools, and I wasn't meaning that.
Well, unfortunately, the school's a bit further out, isn't it?
The school there
The school
is
is-
perfect because there is the opportunity for people to turn around and come back.
So are people happy just as an interim as we get back to this two issue, suggesting that we to reinforce what they're already doing, which is about 20 miles around schools, and then Wardale, Epworth, and
And Home as well, so just put Home in there. Yeah, that's fine.
I just thought home would be an easy one for them.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it.
yeah, and it's not unlike the one anyway. I mean, it's not unprecedented. It's not unprecedented to be
It's
able to
already
do
got
it.
the homes.
Okay, can we move on? Consciously. Peak District National Park Authority. So can we note the list updated with the views of the committee, please? And then the new application, number 1, village.
Yeah, this is Horncastle.
Yes. Support?
Yes,
Isn't it big enough authority?
They're only
Yeah.
putting a tiny little
Little thing, yeah. They've done it
porch
quite-
thing on, haven't they?
Quite sensitively, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so support that. Thank you. Right.
Sorry, can I just ask, Joe, we didn't, I know we vaguely talked about Springwood Road, but we didn't explicitly talk about the letter we received, did we? Were we supposed to?
Oh, that's it from Phil.
I don't know who it was from.
I know Rosie.
I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure if there was a reply that needed doing.
I think it's had replies, hasn't it, from, or do you think it
I
replied
don't
from
know.
us as well? They certainly had a reply from Jen, maybe that was a holding reply.
Okay, well, that's what I wasn't sure about.
Yeah, but if we're saying, well, we could draft a reply, I could reply to him and say that obviously this is talking about all schools, so that would include Newman Road.
I think putting more 30-mile-an-hour signs in causes confusion. People might think, oh, I'm coming out on a 40 zone to a 30 zone.
Yeah.
There's a reason why there's not many, you don't get 30 repeater signs, because if you've got street lights around you and you don't see any other signs, you just go 30 miles an hour.
But I think we can also, did we ever, I can't remember, apologies, did we ever get a confirmation from this Twitcher as to where the speed indicator devices that move around are currently put? Because originally there used to be one up by that road crossing, I think.
Yeah.
something like that, isn't there?
Well,
But I think using those does work. They do have to move
Yes.
because once they're there for a long time, everyone ignores them. But well,
Right.
I just know the one that I was involved in getting put in on the Greenfield Road top. My in-laws live kind of opposite where it is, and they always say when it's there for like goes up for 2 months or something, it's noticeable how quickly people slow down. So
is it more council at the side where it goes, or?
yeah, I arranged for the plugs to be put on so it could go there. So it might be that we then look at if we get guidance from this Twitches, where are the places that it could be put, you know what I mean? Because that's often the issue, because it has to be plugged into a lamp post, but there's the cost of moving it, but there's also the cost of when you have to put the infrastructure in.
She replied, didn't she, on this? I'm trying to think what she said.
Yeah.
I'm sure she came back to me with something.
Because I'm not sure if those SIDs are even going anywhere at the minute. I haven't seen one for ages.
There was some issue with them, wasn't there? Was it software or something that changed?
Everything's
I might be
difficult.
It's all too hard.
Everything's hard.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Thanks, Rachel. Well, I'll do a formal reply to the member of the public who contacted us. Explain what we've decided. Okay. Right. Okay. So in item 77, planning policy, another supplementary planning document, draft affordable housing. Well, I suppose my feeling is that we really should respond to this, and we should respond by email, not by filling in the form, which takes you 5 minutes apparently. So I'm happy to collate if people want to have a look and make comments.
I couldn't find it, so I followed the link and
Oh,
it took me to empty bins or
it's
something.
in. I found it. It was a menu on the right hand side. First of all, I couldn't find it, but then I did find it in the menu on the
There was a
right
link,
hand side.
wasn't there, in the letter?
Yeah, yes, and he did
And I
take me
clicked on that,
Yeah.
and it took me to the
Well,
bins empty.
I managed to. It was there somewhere. I managed to find it.
I'll
I didn't
try
find
this
it
out.
initially though.
Right, in the.
Yeah, I think I had the same problem.
Yeah.
Madam Chairman,
But I did find
the
it.
point I made
Yeah.
a number of years ago,
Yeah.
and it fell on deaf ears. We're wanting low cost housing, we're wanting to have properties that are affordable. What is happening in a lot of cases, because people can't afford to move, they're having extensions built on their houses, and it makes them a lot more valuable. If it was that conditions were put on properties when they were built, that they couldn't be extended at any time, it would also lead to what I call two-tier housing. There's a housing for those that can't afford, and there's a housing for those that can afford. And my theory was that if we made it common that so much land was released for development, but the major part of it was released to the second phase, to the first phase, and that be for lower valued properties. The value to the developer would be less, but I'm sure quite a lot of landowners would be quite happy to accept. If, just an example, land was valued at £1 million an acre for development, if there was a second tier that was at 500,000 an acre, a lot of people would be prepared to take it up, and that is where you could build houses of a low value and then put a condition on. Here Edge is a prime example, all those cheaper houses that were built by Conroy, Brook and whatever, ideal, but they're all extending them. And what was a first time buyer's home is now a third time buyer's home. And this is what's made it difficult. All the areas in the Dales and such what are now making decisions to stop people having second homes in the Dales and whatever. And I think that the council, in all fairness, missed a trick by not doing that a number of years ago, because they're wanting a lot more houses. But what the houses that we're wanting aren't the ones that are getting built.
I think if you look in Home Valley South, I mean, if you look at all our applications, I
Yeah.
think 80% of them are for making it bigger.
Yeah,
And all the new ones, the 3, 4 bedroom.
yeah.
But I don't think there's anything Police can stop them doing it.
No, what I'm saying is, if they made it, if they have done
So it's a
10 or
national
15
policy.
years, if 10 or 15 years ago that had taken this two-tier housing system in and put a condition on those houses that were built then, right?
Yeah.
We have the problem about, we were talking about cars and things a minute ago, all these areas that were built and
Yeah.
cottage houses without
Thank you,
cars.
Paul. That is interesting. I mean, you made the same point about the ex-council house, the application, and
Yeah.
agree with you. Anyway, can we just go back to number 77? So if people have got time to, and if you didn't find it, I did find it.
Yeah, I had the same problem as Andy
Yeah.
first time, and I went back and it reappeared, yeah.
Oh, maybe that's what happened with me then. So if you have time to look at it, we just they're really good. I think these SPDs are excellent. So
I think we have to.
if
do
you
it,
could
don't
feed stuff back to me, and then I could bring it back to the next meeting, which is 31st of October, because the closing day is the 1st of November. So sorry. Well, I'm sure they'll accept a late submission from us. Right, can we move on to ongoing housing campaigns? So the first one is Woodhead Road, Home Bridge, Deputy Clerk to report.
No reply.
No reply. Okay, move on. Campaign for a safer Magdale. I would suggest no further action. Should we wait for results there? Which is sensible. Hayedge intersection. The last thing I heard, still designing the scheme, but at least it's been designed, so it's around the roundabout at Weaver Road.
5 years time we'll get it approved.
Let's hope it's earlier. Right, Burnley Road closure. Deputy Clerk to report any update.
No, Moses Crook kind of jumped in and was because I was being a bit harsh with, I was probably being a bit harsh with the highways, the structures team. He was saying it's not their fault. He's very conciliatory about we shouldn't be having a go at the structures team. It's down to the insurers. But I've had no reply at all from Ben Wright. It's more about the communication, isn't it? That they just don't reply to anything.
And I made this point to Moses on other issues and said communication is a dreadful.
I think you're right, and Police Council should be made an example of for this. I thought when I read this that we're looking like we're getting some work to start to begin in mid-September, but it's not work on the wall. It's work on talking to the insurers.
Well, they said it would be done by now, wouldn't they?
It doesn't need some
It's not happening.
Right,
But Ben said that a year ago, actually.
Yeah.
Ramsden Road. Councillor Wilson to support.
No response.
No response from April.
He wrote in, was it in July, and said they'd found some lower cost gates. And I gave it a fortnight and asked him what his timescale was, etc., to which he hasn't responded.
So you got that letter, didn't you, Andy, about these the lorries that are going to be using Brownhill Road? Is that
Yes.
actually happening already?
It started today.
Right. Right. Okay.
So the works.
Yeah, Yaton Reservoir
Yeah.
embankment. They've got some slippage, which sounds a bit
Yeah.
fantastic to me.
Yeah.
Especially when you look down the road.
It's alright,
They
You
are
can't
keeping it
walk.
up for pedestrians.
there's still more empty and slower down. They can take water. If there's a slippage, it will be alright.
Yeah.
Endurable.
Right, okay.
Don't say that.
I mean, the benefit of that is that at least it will put paid to most of this sort of activity while doing that.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Thank you. Okay, item 79, footpaths and public rights of way. This is just really mostly for information, isn't it?
This, it's rather sad that this, what's this person called? Kim Walker. I don't know if it's a man or a woman, presumably a woman, but she's been really good. and unfortunately she is leaving.
Oh.
She's somebody who actually seems to have got stuff done. So the last email I had from her, she said, "It's my last day in post. I'd like to update everybody on the progress to date. The new complex enforcement manager and I visited the site yesterday to check progress. There's still some finishing work to carry out to the surface, verges to seed with grass and stock fencing to erect around the quarry itself. Once this is complete, the public rights of way officer will visit to check that the work is satisfactory and the bridle way will be reopened to the public." But it sounds like there's a lot of work gone on.
But yeah, they've extended the
Yeah, to 6 months. Yeah,
to February next year.
Yeah. But it seems, normally we're stuck that nothing gets done ever.
Yeah.
And nobody communicates.
We've got something.
This is something happening and somebody's communicating, which is,
She's going home.
sadly rare.
And that's what's happening, you see, to communicate.
They get too much more, they get too much work to do and they have to leave. Thank you. Right. Item 80, Romford Town Centre Master Plan. Apologies for the fact that I had to email you the motion for the full council. I don't know if people have had a chance to see. I brought a few copies along actually in case everybody want one. You've got it there? Is it there? Got it there?
The email me what I haven't seen them.
It's just the usual thing. It's a preamble, which is a summary of where we got to really, and then a motion to go to the full council, the next full council meeting. Now I've deliberately kept it vague really, because I think at the first meeting of any working group we need to decide the remit, and I think membership should be open to all councils, not just planning committee members. Yeah. Certainly Doug's is very keen on it. Doug's is certainly very keen on being involved. Yes, and I've had some communication with Mo Crook, and he's believes that the councillors would be keen on this. I think this is a good move. I mean, we've talked quite often about improving relationships with Kirklees officers, and this would certainly be moving, having been to talk to us and so on. And I think this is a move in that direction as well. So I just want to make sure that are you happy with this as a motion to go to full council?
Yeah. Maybe could I just make one slight comment?
Yeah.
A rather concerned gentleman approached me at the cattle market last week. Where are we going? What do you mean where we're going? Well, it's a friend of mine said they'd been on some website, and it said that the market's going to be knocked down, the market's going to be knocked down in middle of next year. There's one, not this one. As it is the one in the middle of October. Oh, thank God for that. We thought we had to go a long way, because it's all way to with all the cattle markets for them. And there was a lot of concern, and I don't know whether it's been badly phrased or what, but there's something somewhere being put into some documentation saying that the market is going to be removed next year.
Yeah, but the market and the cattle market are two different things, aren't they?
Well, Romford market means cattle market to a lot of people, Thomas. It doesn't. There's a lot of people that live just over Hill don't know
Finally, well, item 81, is there anything that we want to include in, apart from the work on conservation areas?